Afternoon, everybody. Hope you all had a good Christmas and Happy New Year. Hope you're all good. And welcome along to Rehanne's press conference to preview Aston Villa tomorrow. The welcome return to the WSL after a long time out. We've got a couple of journalists in the room today and a couple on Zoom, so we'll jump between the two. We'll kick off in the room, if that's all right, with George from PA. We'll just have a broadcast section today, as I think everyone here is part of the broadcast, so we won't have written embargo section, and we'll get straight into it, if that's all right. I'm conscious Antonio's is coming up next, so back to back today. All right then, George.
Hi, Rehanne.
Hiya.
Good to see you.
And you?
Sort of asking about England, just reflecting on the break. Did it kind of come at a good time, perhaps, for yourself and the squad after sort of difficult end to 2022?
I think we were ready for the break. I think that a lot of players have obviously played a lot of football with all the tournaments in the summer, and yeah, I think the break's been really good for us. Players have come back refreshed and ready to go, and obviously, we're still working in the transfer window as well, and so we've had a new addition in that time. So yeah, I think it's a good start. We're looking forward now to the second half of the season. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Beth's someone that we've identified quite a while ago, and obviously we've been working hard to try and make that happen. I think for us it's about the right fit, and and Beth is definitely the right fit for Tottenham, in terms of her values and ours. She's a top player, in terms of her minutes on pitch and goals scored for the time that she's been on the pitch. It's incredibly high. She's got a lot of experience, and she's shown that she can score in this league, and so for us it's a massive asset and an area that we've always wanted to strengthen since I've been here. But it's building blocks that we're putting in place, and it's the right time, and we've got the right person for the job. Well, obviously she needs to get match minutes. She needs to get some time under her belt, and that's definitely something that we want to try and work with her on. But in terms of the quality and the things that she's going to bring to the side are undoubtedly going to help to benefit what we're trying to achieve. And so it's just up to us and her to work together so that we make sure that we get her in to be able to keep evolving that, so that she's in the right place at the right time, and we make the most of her performances when we can. Yeah, so obviously, they've had some good results, and so I think it's always going to be a test. Whenever we've gone there, it's been a challenge, to play against. I think, we just need to focus on what we needed to do in the second half of the season, and that's the biggest thing, really. I think whoever you play poses you different challenges, and we've not played them yet this season, so this is an opportunity for us to try and start the new year in a positive place, really.
Cheers, George. Owen, would you like to ask a question?
So do you think the fee you paid for Beth shows a lot about the progression of women's football, firstly?
Well, first of all, don't believe everything you read. In terms of the figure being exaggerated, the number that was the previous historic record isn't accurate either. So that gives you a bit of a summary. But look, you pay for what you get. There was a transfer fee that needed to be paid, and as a club we're obviously trying to evolve the team, and it's important that you pay those fees when you need to get the right people in the door, and certainly as a footballer and as a person she's going to add huge value to our team.
And having not won in the league since October, just how important is today, at least tomorrow, to kick on for you in the league?
Well, I think every game's important. We're going through a process, and things didn't quite work how we wanted. But we've played a friendly last weekend that went really well. So pleased in terms of how that's evolved. We obviously won a game before Christmas as well. So it's just momentum. We just want to start building a little bit of momentum in the second half of the season. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. We'll jump across to Zoom now, please. Can I come to Emma at BBC Sport, please? Can they hear us all right, Antonio? All good, guys? Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Cool. All right then. We'll come back to Emma. And Dan, can I come to you from FAWSL full time?
Yeah, me.
Nice one.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, I just wondered. Obviously, you touched on it there that the performances at times were good in the first half of the season. Results, it's been difficult. We know there's been a lot of injuries. Other than getting players back and signing new players, what do you need to do a little bit more of in the second half of the season, to hopefully start turning those results around?
Yeah, I think we let ourselves down in the first parts of games in several of those games. When we got it right from the start, we did really well. And then, we can't have that kind of approach if something doesn't quite go our way. So I think the biggest thing is we've got to be more resilient when the game starts and make sure that we make ourselves as hard to beat as possible. That then obviously keeps you in games for longer, and we've certainly got the quality to show. Some of our possession football in particular was outstanding. We were brilliant at times, but we never reaped the rewards from that really at times when we probably should have. So that's certainly something that we want to try and focus and improve on.
And what have you made of the job that Carla's done at Aston Villa? Obviously, it feels like there's a few maybe similarities between what Spurs are doing and Villa, in terms of the recruitment and where you want them to be. But yeah, what have you made of Carla and the job that she's done in the last kind of 18 months?
Yeah, look, you're probably right. The two clubs are trying to evolve and probably sort of similar pace, really. And I think as a collective, the team's going to be difficult to beat. They've scored a lot of goals. They've conceded goals as well. But that's same on our part. So I think it's going to be a good test going into it for the first one of the league. This obviously new year, this second half of the season, and it's something that we're really looking forward to. That's all we can do really. We want to make sure we go and start the way that we want to carry on, really.
Thanks, Rehanne. That's great. Best of luck for the weekend. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. I'll shuffle a little bit closer to Rehanne to make sure you can hear me. But can we come to Sophie at Girls on the Ball next, please? If you can hear me, Soph.
Yes, I can, yeah. Hey, hi, Rehanne.
Hi, all right.
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
I was just going to ask, last season we were all talking about where you were at and how well you were performing, and maybe this season just recalibrating a little bit. Is it just trying to build those foundations properly so that we don't get ahead of ourselves when we're talking about Tottenham, and just trying to, really get, the foundations really well solid as we move on into the next couple of seasons?
Yeah, I've said on a number of occasions, I think the reality is that you don't get to the top of the league overnight. And whilst aspirationally as a club we know where we want to get to, we're also quite realistic in that it's taken a lot of clubs time to get to that point. And, we did really well last year. We're really proud of that. And obviously we evolved the team further. We've added quality to the team. It's not quite gelled in the way that we wanted to just yet, but that takes time and relationship building, and we've got to put the time and effort into that to get that right. The team knows that, and they're all very aware of the work that they need to put into that, as well as the staff as much as the players. And I think with time you do get to good quality, and you do get to consistent performances, and so that is just part of the process. Unfortunately, it's football, isn't it? You have good days, you have bad days, you have good spells. When you get a bit of momentum, you ride your luck sometimes in those moments. And unfortunately, we've had some situations where we've not made our own luck in the first half of the season, as well as what we probably did at times last year. So at the end of the day, last year, towards the end of the season, we sort of tailed away a little bit, and that was something we wanted to work on. Sort of flipped on its head a little bit this year, but that just shows that we're not there yet, and that's all right. We're just trying to move in the right direction.
Yeah, perfect. And I don't know if you, sorry, I didn't hear very well earlier, but team news and injuries, how is that looking for you going into this game tomorrow?
Yeah, we've got a couple of challenges going into the game this weekend. So there's a few players that aren't available, but we're not, hopefully we'll be getting them back after this weekend, so they're not a million miles off. But yeah, ultimately the squad that's there is fit and ready to go, and obviously we want to make sure that we make the most of the game with those players, and we're still trying to keep improving the quality and depth at the same time, and that's like a fine line. We're not just adding players for adding, players' sake. We want to get that right. So sometimes you have to be a bit patient with a return from injury for some players as well within that. But we'll get there, and we're in a better place now with them. So hopefully they're not too far off.
And finally, what are your views on the winter break? Obviously, it does break up that momentum, maybe, or fitness. But if team players able to go home, maybe it is good mentally. What are your views on it?
Yeah, I think they needed it. You know, there's lots of people that haven't had a lot of opportunity to go home. And so, obviously, you know, it's longer than we've done it before. So, you know, you might want to ask me again after the weekend. I don't know, but we'll see. But, yeah, look, we try and make sure that we're programming players in that time. They have a proper break, but then they also get back to coming back into us. It's sort of similar to a pre-season, really. You sort of migrate them and periodise them back in, don't you? So, the last 2 weeks of training have been fantastic, so really good quality. So hopefully that puts us in a good place going into tomorrow's game.
Brilliant, thank you. See you tomorrow.
Cheers, thanks. See ya.
Thank you, Sophie. Emma or Rachel, would you like to ask a question?
Was that me? Sorry, I couldn't hear.
That's all right. Go ahead, Rachel, whenever you're ready.
Yeah. Hi, Rehanne.
Hello.
Lovely to talk to you. I wanted to ask you about the right-back position and whether Aston Morgan being recalled from Coventry is about perhaps doing something different at right-back, because I know there's been some questioning at least around whether that is the role that fits Amy Turner perfectly.
Aston Morgan was only on loan until the end of December anyway. It was a temporary loan move in order to support her development and return to play back from a long-term injury. So obviously we wanted to ensure that she was in the best possible place and that we weren't the right fit for that at that point. We needed her to be on the grass. She's a young player with a lot of talent, and she's certainly someone that, you know, as part of our Tottenham youth, if you like, we're investing in. So in this next sort of stage of the season, we'll be looking at what's the best thing for her development to get back on track. She's been out since February. It's a long time for a young player. So in terms of the position, right back position, I'm comfortable with what Amy's been doing. I think she's been, you know, she's adjusted. She's played it before. She's played well there. You know, Ash is unavailable this weekend, who's played as a wide player and played as a full-back. And, you know, I think Amy, Azzy, Kez, Ash, you know, we've got several full-backs available to us. And I think, you know, ultimately, all of them have done a good job at different times. And so we'll pick the right players for the right team based on what we think is right that weekend.
Thank you. And you did hint at it around injuries, that there's a couple of people out. I guess just in terms of a longer-term injury and return, what's the signs for Kit Graham?
Kit's progressing really, really well. Yeah, she's back in the biggest chunks of training, really. Some bits not quite, but yeah, she's back training with a group now for the most part, so that's a fantastic place to be in. So we're sort of getting to the end stages of her being closer to the pitch now, which is great. You know, in terms of Rhea Percival, she's progressing really well as well, like probably quicker than what we expected, actually. You know, the pair of them have worked incredibly hard, and obviously the medical and physical performance staff have done a great job in getting them back to a really good place. So, yeah, over the course of, you know, next few months, we'll see what that looks like. There's no pressure on them to be back right now. We know that it's going to take time, but ultimately, if we can get them both back into the team this season, then I'd be delighted if that was the case, to be honest.
That makes it sound like it's slightly longer. I think at one point we were hearing sort of January, February for Kit, but it sounds like maybe it's going to be a longer period.
January's never been on the cards for Kit, but obviously she's progressing well. As I say, she's back training with the team, so she's at the end stages of that.
Thank you, Rachel. Would anyone else like to ask any further questions? I'll take that as a no. Everyone's very satisfied. We'll leave it there then. Thank you very much. Oh, one more from George.
There's one more. There's one more, guys, if you want to hang around.
Go on, George.
It's all right.
I mean, obviously, definitely coming to Spurs and Jordan North going to Aston Villa, two really big names. So is that good for the WSL that you've got these big names that are not just playing for the sort of traditional top three and now going to the other clubs? I guess it feels that's going to strengthen the WSL in the long term.
I think players have just got to do what's right for them, you know, to get game time. Both players are looking at a World Cup in the summer. And so, you know, regardless, really, it's about getting on the pitch. And, you know, if that's risking your selection for a World Cup, I think that's what essentially makes players' decisions for them. So ultimately, you know, every club is trying to strengthen, whether that's English players or elsewhere. Everybody wants to bring in top quality players, and top quality players want to play. So I think that's probably the crux of why those moves are happening, really.
All good. All right then, guys. Thank you very much. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you.